Welcome to a journey of transformation. Every week, we explore new horizons, pushing boundaries and embracing what's next. This isn't just about technology, it's about evolving ourselves. Think of it as your weekly reset, a chance to upgrade your mindset, your skills, and your potential. We're here to help you rethink how you approach challenges, how you innovate, and ultimately, how you succeed. From powerful insights to practical strategies and game-changing knowledge, we tap into everything you need. It's about staying ahead, not just in a digital world, but in life itself, equipping you for every new beginning. Because in this fast-paced era, standing still is simply not an option. Growth is continuous. You either choose to evolve, to adapt, and to learn, or you risk being left behind. Embrace the change. This isn't just an update. It's a profound rebirth, a chance to redefine your future, to step into your power, and to truly thrive. It's about unlocking your next level. Join us on this exciting path. Embrace your new beginning. Your journey starts now.
Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast, Tech Tuesdays. I'm here. I got the Sensei in the building. You know, he's our Tech Tuesday SME. He's our subject matter expert of the evening, and he's here each and every Tuesday live right here on the Final Boss Podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Right? Look, we got a great show for you guys, man. This is episode number 265. We are 45 episodes away from episode 300, which we will bring in season 5, The Harvest. The harvest is on the way, man. The harvest is on the way. And, I got a few admin notes before we get into tonight's show. Look, first, if you don't, go get All Aboard the Fired Up Train. Go time, All Aboard the Fired Up Train. It's the first book. Second book is coming out next month, right? Second book is coming out next month. Go Time 2, it's on its way. It will be here before you know it. So you need to get the first book in the series, then get the second book in the series, right? Next admin note. If you haven't, go watch all our shows. Go watch all of our shows on thefinalbosspodcast.com, right? And that's the website to all of our shows. That's www.thefinalbosspodcast.com. That's where you can find all of our shows, right? Then, if you want to get your emails in, your questions, concerns, shoot us an email at info@thefinalbosspodcast.com. That's info at thefinalbosspodcast.com. Get on in the town hall, shoot your concerns in, your questions, what have you. Get it out there, man. We're here for it, right? Look, as this platform is growing, certain elements of the platform are growing as well. YouTube has over 5,000 subscribers right now and over 300,000 downloads, man. We're moving, right? So we're moving in the right direction. It's about moving the needle, and we're definitely moving the needle. So YouTube came on late in the game, but now that it's here, it's here. So let's get into it. Sensei, how you feeling?
Ready to roll.
Let's get into it, man. That's what I needed to hear, right? So before we get into it, look, there's something that we're going to discuss tonight, right? And I know no one else is talking about it. Right? And there's a bug that's been sitting on a piece of software running right now in your school's network, in your office network, right? And maybe even in your coffee shops, right? If you work there. And it's been there since 1997. I'm going to say that again. 1997. We're talking about 3 decades of code reviews, 3 decades of professional security audits, 3 decades of rewrites, and nobody caught it. Then our good friend AI All right. Our good friend AI sat down with the code 2 months ago and found it in minutes. Tonight, the sensei and the final boss break down Squidbleed, the credential-leaking proxy flaw that just rewrote what vulnerability research looks like and what it means that the machines are now finding the bugs the humans missed for 30 years, man. That's tonight's show. Let's get into it, man. Man, we talking about a heavy load and weight load bearing. Oh boy, right? But so before we get into tonight's show, right? We're gonna go to the brass tacks, man. And tonight's brass tacks comes from Caliph.io, right? Security research. They discovered the Squidbleed disclosure in June of 2026, right? And here's the brass tacks. The dangers of raw memory access in C are well understood, but the subsidies of standard library functions like strchr are easier to overlook. Few developers would guess that searching for the null terminator succeeds, which may explain how one-line bugs survive close to 30 years of code review, right? That's the brass tacks of the evening. And look, this is season 4, the rebirth arc for the construction. Arc 5, the declaration, starts next week, right? At episode 271. This is episode 265. And we're here, Tech Tuesday with the Sensei, Big Mike, right? And I am, of course, the final boss. And this is live, 9 p.m. Eastern time, right? And tonight we're not talking about a future threat or a theoretical risk. We're talking about a bug that has been quietly leaking other people's passwords and login tokens since before most of his audience was even born, right? We're talking about 30 years, right? Hiding inside software that is running in the corporate networks, schools, and public Wi-Fi hotspots all over the world right now, right? And tonight, while we're live, the smarts are going to want every technical detail. The final bosses need to know if their infrastructure is exposed, and the motivators need the bigger lesson about what this moment means. Interesting, right? And the warriors need to understand what it says about the next era of cyber defense. The sensei has the code, the final boss has the verdict, and let's get right into it. Boom! Sensei, the floor.
Whew. Well, we're going to do a little geeking tonight because we have to, because it is Tech Tuesday, right? So picture this. It's January 1997. I mean, the internet is young. And look, a lot of people who are listening to this podcast were not even alive yet. If they were, then they might have been in diapers, right? So a developer working on a piece of software called Squid Proxy. They write a small patch to handle a quirky old file server. Okay. The system is called NetWare. And the patch goes in. The code ships, and buried inside that patch, a mistake so subtle that it would take 29 years and AI to find it.
Wow. 29 years. Say that again. So it lands a little bit harder. My God.
29 years. That's 3 full decades. And during that time, Squid Proxy became one of the most widely developed pieces of network infrastructure on the planet. It sits inside of corporate networks, school networks, in public Wi-Fi systems, and anywhere multiple people share one internet connection through a single gateway. Now, security researchers have audited this code base. Professional firms have reviewed it. And even open source contributors have rewritten parts of it, but nobody found the bug.
Nobody human found this bug.
Right, and that's the headline, right? Now,
Right.
we talk about things that are real that nobody else is talking about. We talk about things that are happening right now that nobody else is talking about. And you can go out and search and find out who talks about this subject that we talk about. Look, we study the machine. We don't argue its decorations. We are all about bringing the current relevant information that's out there right now that matters. And in June 2026, this is current, okay, this month, a security research firm called Cal.io, they sent an AI model, Anthropic's Claude, Mythos preview. Okay, that's the one we've been talking about, Mythos. That's the big, the danger one we keep talking about. It's very powerful.
Right.
They sent it to go spelunking through Squid's FTP parsing code. Just exploring, just look for weaknesses, nothing serious. And it surfaced a heap memory bug that has been quietly leaking other users' login credentials and session tokens and API keys the entire time.
Wow. Wow. Man, that's a hell of an introduction. Look, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 265, right? Now, tonight, we're calling this one Squidbleed. And by the end of this segment, you're going to understand exactly why a bug that survived 30 years of human review did not survive 30 minutes with the right AI pointed at the right code. Stay in your seats, grab your pens and paper. This is a night to take notes. This one is a turning point episode as we conclude the construction, right? The construction arc.
Boom. A real one.
A real one, right? Let's go. So, before we go anywhere else, I'm going to speak on who's locked in, right? Who's locked in with us tonight and every night? Because every group in the community, right? My smarts, finder bosses, warriors, and motivators is going to take something different from this episode. And I want each of you to know I see you and we recognize you, right? So, to my smarts, the analysts, the architects, the ones who are already pulling up the CVE numbers, right? On the second screen right now, I see you, right? While I'm talking. Tonight is built for you. We're going deep on actual mechanics of this bug, and Mike is going to walk through exactly how a 30-year-old line of C code became a credential leak, right? And my final bosses, the operators, the founders, the people running businesses or networks, they did not personally build and may not even personally audit it. This episode is a direct action item for you. And by the end of this, you're going to know exactly what to check in on your own environment, right? And my motivators, the ones who show up even on a technical night, because you understand that the sovereign grows by sitting in rooms slightly outside the comfort zone, right? Tonight has a lesson in that very thing that goes beyond code, right? And I'm going to make sure you walk away with something, right? And to my warriors, the ones who understand structural vulnerabilities and patience in a way that very audiences do. Tonight's story is about something hiding in plain sight for 3 decades before it was found. That is a concept you already understand on a level most people do not, right?
And this, what's important is this topic belongs to all 4 groups. And honestly, it may be one of the most important stories we've covered on Tech Tuesdays all season. And here's why. This is very important. It's not just about a bug. That's not it. It's in a shift in who finds the bugs. That's what we're talking about. That's what matters.
That is exactly what matters, right? So, I already asked you how you doing. Are you ready? You locked in?
Yeah, I'm locked in.
All right.
I'm ready to rock this thing. Not expecting to have to learn about code from 1997, but, you know, hey, here we are.
Here we are. And that is exactly the energy we need for this episode, right? Because tonight is not fear episode. We're not dooming you guys. There's no Nostradamus. We're just giving you the facts, right? Because it's not panic. No panic, right? It's a story about what happens when the tools available to the defenders fundamentally change, and what that means for every single person in this room and in this chat who's responsible for protecting something, right? Hey, let me see those hand emojis, man. If you're in the building, put your hand emojis up, right? I see some of you guys in. let us know you're here. So, Sensei, you got the floor.
All right. Let's set the foundation for everybody. I mean, who's not deep into network infrastructure, because not everybody is. It's a kind of small
Right.
community. A proxy server is just a piece of software that sits between a group of users and the internet. Okay. When you're on a shared network, because that's how we work, and the reason we do that is because public addresses are expensive. And I'll put it to you this way. Street addresses. You have a street address for your house.
Right.
All right. Inside your house, you have a lot of rooms. So all the rooms in your house want to get to the internet. It's not that every room in the house has its own street address. You have a single street address. Everybody that's in the rooms have used that single address to get out. You have an
Right.
apartment building. You have the apartment building sits behind the street address. That's what we're talking about, okay? All right. So this doesn't matter if you're in an office, a school, the Wi-Fi at the coffee shop. Your traffic passes through a proxy before it reaches the broader internet. And a proxy can speed things up by what's called caching content, and a filter that sites people can access, monitor traffic for security purposes. These are the things that happen going through proxies. So, I mean, it's just what happens. This is how we allow traffic to flow in today's world. It's a very busy place.
Very, very busy place. Yep. So basically, it's a checkpoint that traffic passes through.
Right. And Squid is one of the most widely developed proxy servers in the world. It's free, it's open source, and it's been around since the 1990s.
Okay.
Corporate IT departments use it, schools use it, and public Wi-Fi providers use it. Most people using a network protected by Squid have no idea it's even there. I mean, just quietly, it's doing its job in the background, because there's a lot of things that happen that we don't know intimately how it works. We just know that it does.
Right. Which makes it the kind of infrastructure that becomes invisible over time. Nobody thinks about the plumbing until the plumbing fails.
And that's exactly the right metaphor. And here's what makes this bug so unsettling. It lives inside Squid's handling of FTP, which is called File Transfer Protocol. I mean, it's an old school way of moving files between computers that most people, we haven't used it in years because it's considered unsecure. Now, Chrome dropped FTP support entirely years ago, and most organizations have close to zero legitimate FTP traffic running through the networks today, because we now can transfer files much more securely. But Squid still supports it by default, and that legacy support is exactly where the bug was hiding.
So the part of the software that almost nobody uses anymore is the part that has been silently exposed the entire time.
That's correct. And this is a pattern that shows up again and again in security research. The parts of the code base that get the least attention because they feel obsolete are often the parts that accumulate the most risk, because nobody's looking there anymore. Nobody's patching there anymore, and it doesn't get any attention.
Right. Wow. Man. You know, I gave you guys the brass tacks, but I'm going to give it to you again, right? Because to give it so it can resonate more. I need you to write this down, right? Write it down. I'll give you some time, right? And here it is. The dangers of raw memory access in C are well understood, but the subtleties of standard library functions like strchr are easier to overlook. Few developers will guess the searching for the null terminator succeeds, which may explain how a one-line bug survived close to 30 years of code review, right? That's what Caliph.io official disclosure, right? For this month, 2026, right? That's the whole story, right? Sensei, you got the floor.
Well, let's go through some mechanics of this. I know we're going to talk geek, but it's okay. We have to, because this is important. and it's pretty crazy, right? So
Right.
this is genuinely one of the most elegant and unsettling bugs we've seen in a long time. It comes down to a single function in the C programming language called stretcher. And that function stretches a string for a specific character and returns the location where it finds it.
Simple enough on the surface. At least it
Right?
sounds that way.
Well, of course it does. It sounds very
Yeah.
simple. Sounds like nothing. But here's the
Hmm.
part almost nobody knows unless they have memorized the C standard. When you search a string for the null terminator character, the invisible character that marks the end of every string in C, the stretcher function actually finds it and returns a valid result. And most developers assume that searching for the end of string marker would return nothing because logically you're searching for nothing. But the C standard technically defines the null terminator as part of the string. So the function succeeds when developers intuitively expected it to fail.
Sounds like a trap door built in the language itself.
It's exactly that trapdoor. And in Squid's FTP parser, there's a loop that uses stretcher to skip past white space characters. White space means blank characters, right? While reading
Hmm.
a directory listing from an FTP server. The code was written assuming that when it hit the end of the string, the search would fail and the loop would stop. But because of this quirk, the search succeeds. The loop does not stop and it keeps walking forward past the end of legitimate data.
Past the end of the buffer, right? The buffer that it's supposed to be reading.
Right. It's supposed to
Okay.
stop at the end
Hmm.
of what it's supposed to be searching for. But
Right.
what occurs is that when it goes past that, it goes right into adjacent heap memory. That's
Mm.
memory that Squid had previously used to store something else. And
Okay.
because here is the part that makes it dangerous rather than a curiosity, Squid reuses memory buffers for efficiency. When a
Mm.
buffer is freed up, it goes into a recycling pool rather than being wiped clean. And the next
Okay.
time memory gets allocated, the old data is still sitting there. So when this loop walks past the end of the intended buffer, what it finds on the other side might be a completely different user's HTTP request, their authorization headers, their session
Right.
cookies, their API keys.
So an attacker who controls an FTP server that your proxy is tricked into can hold on. Let me get it together. Can pull a previous user's login credentials out of recycle memory.
Right. I mean, this is what it is. It's like if your proxy service tricked into contacting, okay,
Mhm.
they control the FTP server, your proxy is tricked into contacting,
Right.
right? That's the entire attack end to end. There's nothing exotic about it. Super simple. The attacker just needs to
Mm.
be a user on the same shared proxy, which describes anybody on a corporate network, a school,
Right.
public Wi-Fi. They need to control or direct traffic to an FTP server.
Mm.
Now, both of these things are entirely within reach for a low sophistication attacker. It's so simple.
Wow. It sounds like it. That bug is low effort. Right? Hiding for that long with that kind of payoff, man, that is exactly why this one earned the heartbleed comparison.
Mm.
Mm, man. And you know what? Here's the question that I want to present to the whole community, right? And this one is going to be asking of all four groups tonight. I need you guys to hear me, right? If this bug is real, and clearly it is, right? Why did it take an artificial intelligence model to find it instead of a human security researcher?
And this is why this story is so important. And look, we talked a little geek and we're talking some technical stuff that most people go, what the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
And what does that matter? But
Right.
we had to lay the framework so you understand the part of the story that matters the most.
Correct.
Now, according to Caliph.io's own write-up, The reason why the bug survived 3 decades of human review, because it requires connecting 3 completely separate facts that no single piece of code states outright. First, a 1997 compatibility patch written to support an old NetWare file server format. NetWare.
Mhm.
Nobody uses NetWare anymore. Okay.
Right.
But did the code go away? No. Second, the C programming language specific counterintuitive definition of what a stretcher function does with a null terminator. Completely separate piece of information. One doesn't relate to the other at all. And third, the
Okay.
internal memory reuse behavior of Squid's custom memory allocator. And here's the funny part. It's not
Mhm.
documented anywhere near the parsing code that actually depends on it. So you're talking
Wow.
about three things.
Hmm. Man, we're talking about 3 separate facts, and none of which look dangerous in isolation.
And that's exactly right. Any one of these 3 facts on its own looks completely unremarkable. No big deal. A human reviewer scanning that code is going to see a normal looking white space skipping loop. They're not going to independently recall the exact behavior of stretcher with a null character while also remembering the internal allocated behavior from a completely different file, while
Mm.
also recognizing the significance of a compatibility shim for a defunct 1990s operating system. I mean, that conjunction of 3 disconnected facts is
Right.
exactly what falls through the cracks during a normal review.
Mm. But an AI model can hold up all 3 pieces of context simultaneously.
And that's the capability shift. This is
Yeah.
why we talk about this stuff, because we humans can only pay attention to so many things at one time.
Correct.
But the Claude Mythos preview, the model used in this discovery, was trained on the entire C standard reference. So the null
Mm.
terminator quirk in Stretcher is not some obscure trivia that has to look up. It's just simply
Okay.
a fact that already knows cold. When the researchers pointed the model at Squid's FTP parsing logic and asked it to investigate the file state and that machine more thoroughly, it connected that
Mm.
known fact to the code pattern almost immediately.
And you know what? This is not only this isn't the only time that this happened recently.
No, it is not. And look, this is the beginning. This is
Mm.
not even the end. And Calif.io disclosed a different vulnerability, a denial of service technique. Now, denial of service is this. If I attack you, then that's denial of service. Okay?
Right.
Meaning if I'm yelling at you, I can't hear you. White noise, right? If you've ever been tased with a taser, it's called
Right.
white noise, right? You
Mhm.
tell your hand move, but it doesn't move because there's no way for the signal to go past all that noise. That's all a taser does.
Right.
So that's a denial of service. And it's a big deal in
Okay.
today's world. Denial of service is huge. So there's a technique
Mhm.
called HTTP2 bomb that just 2 weeks before this one, working with a completely different AI model, the AI assisted bug discovery in decades old, heavily audited open source infrastructure is becoming a pattern, not a one off headline.
Wow. Wow. So the question for every operator in the room in the chat is not whether AI is going to change vulnerability or change vulnerability research, I should say. It already has, right? The question is whether you, yes, you, knife hand, right, are on the side benefiting from the shift or exposed because of it, right? Look, our episodes and our show wouldn't be our show, man, without a cost confession, right? And tonight's cost confession, right? We're going to name it. We're going to put a number behind it, and there's no softening, right? If Squidbleed, listen, if Squidbleed teaches us anything practical, it is that legacy infrastructure nobody is actively auditing is exactly where risk accumulates silently for years. So let me tell you what it actually costs to get ahead of that small to mid-size operators, right? Let's talk
All
about it.
right, let's do it.
All right. So A focused infrastructure security audit covering your network proxy, firewall configuration, and exposed legacy protocols typically runs $5,000 to $18,000 for a small to mid-sized business, right? Depending on the complexity of your environment and how much documentation already exists. Now, if nothing is documented, keyword, right? Which is the case for most growing businesses, expect to be on the higher end of that range because the audit team has to map your environment, right? And they have to do it from scratch before they can even begin assessing the risk.
Now, we've talked about this in previous episodes. The number one issue we have is you have to know what you have before you can determine what your risk is. And so that mapping step is one of the most businesses, they will skip that entirely. They just put equipment in place and think that it's good to go.
Right. Because they don't know they need it until something like Squidbleed makes headlines and they realize that they have no idea what proxy software even is running on their network, right? We talking about ongoing vulnerability monitoring and patch management. The service that would have caught a CVE like this the moment it was disclosed and flagged whether your specific environment was exposed. And that runs between $2,000 and $8,000 per year for a small operation, scaling up from there for more complex infrastructures, right?
And that's the real number for protection, but that's only one piece of protection.
Right.
That's not all your protection. That's just one piece of a complex
one
pie.
Piece of it. Exactly. And here's what it buys you. It buys you the ability to know. And within hours of a disclosure like Squidbleed, whether your business is exposed instead of finding out from a customer or a regulator months later, it buys you a documented record of due diligence if a breach ever does happen and you need to demonstrate you were taking reasonable security measures. And it buys you the simple, unglamorous discipline of knowing, right, what is actually running on your own network, right? See, we named it, right? I'm the final boss, and I'm the founder of SAT DigiNet, a service-disabled veteran-owned company. And we tell operators the real cost, because the real cost is what protects what you built, right?
I mean, that's the cost confession, okay? It is the unsexy truth behind every flashy CVE. CVE means common vulnerability exposure.
Right.
Headline. The fix is rarely expensive. The expensive part is not knowing that you need it and you don't fix it.
Exactly.
Let me get specific. Let me get specific about who needs to be paying attention.
Okay.
I mean, to this tonight, because exposure is not universal, and the nuance actually does matter.
Okay. Walk us through it.
All right. First, the good news. Most modern web traffic browsers, they run over HTTPS, which stands for hypertext your protocol, but it's secure. HTTP is your web. HTTPS is secure, the lock on your web page when you browse.
Right.
Okay. All right. Which Squid relays as an encrypted tunnel. It can't see inside. So that's good. That means the bulk of your normal browsing traffic is not exposed by this particular flaw. If your organization is purely using Squid to proxy standard encrypted web traffic and nothing else, your exposure is pretty low.
Now the part that should get everyone's attention because it's coming.
All right, so the exposure is real for clear text HTTP traffic. Remember, S on the end means secure. So HTTP is not secure.
Right.
Which still exists more than people would assume. For any setup where Squid is configured to terminate and inspect TLS traffic, which is your certificate traffic, which many corporate security tools do intentionally for monitoring purposes. If your organization runs Squid with TLS inspection enabled, which is common in environments that want visibility into encrypted traffic for security and compliance reasons. you are sitting in the highest exposure category.
And the attack requires the proxy to be able to reach an attacker controlled by FTP server.
Right. And that requirement sounds limiting until you realize FTP is enabled by default in Squid, and port 21, which is the FTP port, is included in Squid's default list of allowed outbound ports.
Right.
And most organizations never reviewed that default. They installed Squid years ago. It worked. Nobody opened a configuration file again. This is genuinely the most common posture we see across corporate and educational environments.
Wow. So the honest answers here is, am I exposed? Is probably correct. And someone specifically went in and disabled FTP or verified a patch.
And so back in the day, it was all services are turned on. You had to turn them off if you didn't want to use them.
I remember that.
Yep, that was the Microsoft way. The Linux way was everything's turned off and you must turn it on for it to be enabled.
Right.
So Microsoft has moved more towards the Linux style, which is turn everything off by default and turn things on that you need.
Okay.
So there's a practical move available to literally everybody tonight, free in under 5 minutes. If your organization is not actively using FTP through your proxy, and almost nobody is anymore, you can disable FTP support entirely in your Squid configuration.
Right.
That single change removes the entire attack service, whether you have patched it yet.
A zero cost fix for a problem that survived 30 years.
So look, sometimes the best solution is just turn things off. Now, we will cover in a little bit the places where we are more at risk, not your end users, but your corporate networks.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, Sensei. We appreciate that, sir. All right. Look, tonight, as we have confession time, let's talk about the uncomfortable verdict, right? It's uncomfortable verdict time, right? And here's what I need every spinal boss, every warrior, every smart, every motivator in the room to sit in for a minute, right? 23 years, security industry, right? Operated under an assumption. The assumption was that that was widely used, right? Heavily deployed, frequently audited open source software was reasonably safe, right? Because enough qualified people had looked at it over enough time. But Squid is exactly that kind of software. Professional firms reviewed it. Open source contributors maintained it. Security researchers studied it. And the assumption held, right? Right up until the AI model looked at the same code with a different kind of attention and found what every human review had missed.
That's crazy. It's genuinely, it's uncomfortable because it means this has been reviewed before.
Yeah.
And that's no longer good enough. That's no longer a sufficient signal of safety. It's already been reviewed. We've already looked at it. No, you can't just look at it and say, oh, that's good enough. Everything has to be looked at all over again, everything. And that's insane how much that is.
Absolutely. And I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, man, we need to look at every file and go back 30 plus years and see exactly what's hiding in people's infrastructures. And that's part of the uncomfortable verdict. The amount of legacy code currently running in production systems around the world that has never been looked at by AI model, right? Especially with this kind of capability is enormous. Squid is not unique. It is simply the one that the model with this kind of capability got found first. If 29-year-old bug was sitting in one of the most widely deployed proxy servers on the planet, the honest question every operator in this room needs to ask is, what else? What else, right? What else is sitting in the infrastructure you depend on that nobody has looked at hard enough yet?
And that question does not have a comfortable answer.
Mm.
I mean, not at all.
No.
No.
No. And that's not a reason to panic. It is a reason to take the audit seriously instead of treating it as a checkbox. The sovereign does not wait for the headline. The sovereign assumes the unreviewed parts of their infrastructure deserves attention before someone or something finds the gap for them.
I mean, it's exactly the mindset shift. We need to change your mindset. And that's what the story should produce. It's not fear. We're not fear mongers here. It's discipline. That's what it takes.
And discipline's the whole brand. So let's keep building.
So, look, I want to widen the lens for a moment, okay? Because this Squidbleed thing, it's not an isolated event, okay? It's just it's a pattern. And it started accelerating the past few months. So when OpenAI released an upgraded version of its own security-focused model to trusted defenders, specifically for finding and patching vulnerabilities in large code bases. So that's what's happened, okay? The new models are out. They say, let's go find bad things and fix them.
Yeah.
And this model is designed to sustain deep analysis across massive amounts of code, identify the issues, validate them in controlled environments, and then often draft the patches.
Right. So the same capability that found Squidbleed is being deliberately built out and handed to defenders at scale.
I mean, that's the optimistic read. And it's a real one. Don't get me wrong. It's real. I mean, for years, cybersecurity conversation assumed attackers would get the AI advantage first, using automated tools to find weaknesses faster than defenders could patch them. That's what we've been afraid of for years.
Right.
What we're actually seeing right now is something a little more balanced. Defensive security research firms are using these same AI capabilities to find decades-old bugs in critical infrastructure before attackers do.
A race where the defenders got a real head start on at least this round. At least.
Yeah, I mean, for this round. I mean, look, Caliph.io discloses this responsibly. They work directly with the Squid maintainers, giving them time to develop and ship a patch before any of the technical details went public. That's really good. And this is the system working the way it's supposed to work. AI found something, humans missed it. They got it fixed through the proper channel instead of allowing it to get weaponized.
Which means the only thing that stays true is if the defensive side keeps moving as fast as the capability itself is advancing.
Exactly. Look, the capability is neutral. Doesn't matter who has it. It's neutral. It can be pointed at finding bugs to fix them or finding bugs to exploit them.
Right.
The Squidbleed story is a good version of this pattern. It's a good story.
Right.
The version every operator in this room should hope continues to be the dominant story. And that depends on your organizations adopting these defensive tools as fast as the bad actors adapt and adopt the offensive equivalent.
So that means the businesses that move early on integrating AI-assisted security review into their own practices are going to be the ones finding their own Squidbleeds before someone else does.
I mean, that's a strategic takeaway beneath the technical story. Now, I'm gonna branch here really quick because I want you to think, well, we heard about this, and how does this matter to me? I'm just a regular user. Okay, fine. So in your environment, if you're a personal PC and your laptop, your risk is low to moderate. It doesn't matter. If you're a small business server with only trusted admins and only trusted apps, your risk is moderate. Here's where it gets really interesting, because everybody wants to put their stuff virtualized and in the cloud. Now watch this. If you're a Hyper-V or VMware host with different customers and users, which happens all the time if you're having Amazon host your server and you put your server in the cloud, you let Microsoft host your stuff, all your servers and all your infrastructure is going in the cloud, guess what? Your risk is high. Cloud shared hosting container workloads, this is huge. This is where everybody's keeping their costs down, cutting their costs in IT, and putting all their services in the cloud, because the cloud is just somebody else's computer. It's not like
Right.
I put my computer, my server, and I just put it in the cloud. No, no, no. It's a big server, and I rent a room in that big server. That's what's happening.
Right.
And that's called cloud sharing. Container workloads. Your risk is high. Expose internet services with another local compromise already present. So if there's already a compromise in something else, it's high as a second stage attack. So you see what's happening here. It's not just the Squidbleed. We talk about how tiny that one little thing is. It's what are the risks when you take that tiny thing and now let's expand that out and see what it really matters.
Right.
And that's where it really hits. Because everybody's saying, go to the cloud. We want to go in the cloud to save money. Well, when you save money, what do? You inherently get higher risk.
Higher risk. Yep.
And that's a strategic takeaway underneath this technical story.
That's it. And you know, I want to speak directly to my warriors. Thank you, Sensei. Appreciate it. Thank you for that. I want to speak directly to the warriors because there's something in the story that resonates differently if you've spent time in structured, disciplined environments where small details carry massive consequences, right? A bug survived 29 years, did not survive because it was clever in a flashy way. It survived because it was small, quiet, and embedded in a part of a system that nobody was actively watching anymore. That is not a new pattern, like the Sensei said, right? Every veteran in this room, every person in this chat who has done any kind of security work, force protection work, or systems work understands that the threat that gets you is rarely the one everyone is staring at. It is the one sitting in the part of the perimeter that stopped getting checked because nothing had ever happened there before, right?
That's complacency built on a long, uneventful track record. You pay attention to all the big stuff and you forget about the little stuff.
That's exactly it.
A very wise person has told me that it's not the big things that matter. It's always the little things that matter.
Always the little. Yep. The devil's in the details, right? 29 years, man. 29 years. Think of that, right? Some of you, not even 29 years old, that are in the chat right now, right? And without incident, it is not evidence of safety. It is evidence that nobody looked hard enough for long enough. It's in the right place. And I want every warrior in the room to recognize that pattern because it shows up constantly in physical security, in information security, in personal discipline. The complacency that builds up around something that has always been fine is precisely where the next failure is quietly assembling itself, right?
I mean, look, the federal and defense world has actually been ahead of the curve on this specific lesson. They use what's called continuous monitoring rather than periodic review. That's been the growing standard in government and defense security frameworks for years, precisely because periodic human review keeps missing exactly this kind of slow burn risk.
Continuous monitoring instead of trusting that last year's clean audit means that this year is also clean, right? That's the mindset. You and I both have seen those reports, right? And that is that's what it is. It's a mindset, right? Not just a technology purchase. It is exactly the mindset that every warrior understands from operational environments, where you do not get to assume yesterday's security posture is still valid today.
So there was a recent security breach, which is a health security breach in a large system that's used by medical providers. And the audit was performed and the audit was passed.
Okay.
It came around to the next year for the next audit and they found the problem. Well, guess what? The problem began right after the last audit. One entire year of breach occurred until the next audit. And that's an
Wow.
actual documented issue that has happened this last year. This year, it was actually end of December, January, where it actually hit, where they discovered, oh, we have a problem that was going on for 1 year of compromise because the audit was passed and they stopped looking. The threat doesn't respect how long something's gone unnoticed. If anything, it
Right.
hides the longer it goes unnoticed.
29 years of hiding in plain sight. Let that sit with you. Every warrior in the room. I need you guys to sit with that, right?
And let me give the final boss in the smarts in the room practical checklist. There's 5 concrete steps straight from the actual remediation guidance security. The research is published with this disclosure. Step 1, identify if you're running Squid proxy at all. Sounds obvious, but it's genuinely not, because Squid is frequently bundled inside other commercial proxy and security appliances without the underlying brand being visible to the user. So you ask your IT team or your managed service provider whether any of your network infrastructure runs Squid proxy, even indirectly through a third-party product. And that's where it's going to hide, in a third-party product.
Right.
So step 2 is check your version. If you have it, the patch is specific. The bug ships in Squid version 7.7, which has not been publicly released as of this recording. Earlier reports incorrectly suggesting that the version 7.6 include the fix. It does not. 7.6 fixes a separate, unrelated vulnerability. I mean, don't assume you're just patched because you upgraded recently. So you always have to look.
Confirm. Don't assume. That's the entire lesson in 4 words.
Right. There's third step. Disable FTP support. If you're not using it, which describes nearly every organization at this point, it's the single fastest, free mitigation available, and it closes the entire attack path immediately, regardless of your patch status. So you shut it off if you're not using it. But also, you need to scan your network for any of that traffic. So here's why: because you could have a third-party FTP server sitting on your network that you didn't install, but it's sitting on your network.
Right.
So you still have to actively scan for that traffic. So if you genuinely need FTP functionality through your proxy for a legitimate business reason, restrict which servers your proxy is allowed to reach to a specific trusted user list, rather than allowing it to contact anywhere on port 20. In other words, if you're not trusted, you're blocked. In step 5, while your team has a configuration file open anyway, review your full list of allowed outbound ports. This is at your firewalls. Most organizations are running default configurations that open way more ports and protocols than they actually use. Every unused port is an unmanaged risk sitting quietly in your environment. Every port is a door. Now, do you leave all of the doors to your house open all the time? No. You should close every door in your house and only open the doors that you use. And that's exactly the way this bug sat, quietly, because it's an unused open port. And it sat there for 29 years.
29
unused.
Unused. Yep.
Very few
5
people
steps.
will do that.
Right. SENSEI just gave you 5 steps, people. None of them, I say none of them, expensive. None of them require new hardware. They just require some attention. Give it some love, right? Which is the one thing this bug proves most organizations have not been giving their own infrastructure, right? Write every one of those steps down, right? Thank you, SENSEI, for that, right? And, you know, as we continue tonight, we got a few more minutes, man. We may go over a little bit, right? Just a little bit, right? I want to mention something that we discussed early on in the beginning of the episode, right? I told you a bug that we've been talking about all night survived 30 years of human review and did not survive 30 minutes with the right AI pointed at the code, at the right code, I should say. I promise we could come back to what that actually means going forward. And here's the close.
Ooh. What's our close?
Oh,
look, what it means, look, in this era
yeah.
of this code base has been reviewed plenty.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably fine. I mean, that's over. That's done.
Yeah.
It's not because the reviews don't matter anymore. It's because that bar for what counts as a thorough review is just moved. That
Yeah.
review does not include AI-assisted analysis of the kind that found Squidbleed. It's going forward,
Right.
an incomplete review. Not a bad one,
Mm-hmm.
just incomplete. In a
Yeah.
way that more organizations are going to discover the hard way over the coming months.
And here's the part that should reframe how every operator in this room thinks about their own infrastructure going forward, right? Because this story isn't really about Squid Proxy. Squid just happens to be the first major widely deployed piece of software where this exact capability got pointed and found something real. There's a pattern. AI assisted research surfacing for decades, and they're finding old logic bugs and heavily used, right? Heavily trusted infrastructure, and it's going to be on repeat. They're going to keep finding it, right? Caliph.io has already done it twice in 1 month with 2 different AI models on 2 completely different pieces of infrastructure.
And this is the early innings. This is the beginning. Don't expect this to be just, oh, hit it, we got it, we're good. No, this is the
Right.
beginning. This is what is the future. This is what's coming.
Right. Which means operators who treat this as a one-time news cycle and move on are going to be repeatedly surprised over the next year as more of these disclosures land. The operators who treat this as the new baseline, who build AI-assisted security review into their ongoing practices starting now, are the ones who are going to be finding their own Squidbleeds quietly, internally, before a researcher's blog posted and is made public.
Look, quiet discovery beats public disclosure every time. I mean, from business risk.
Absolutely.
Look,
Yeah.
it's why do you do audits? You do audits to find the problems and fix them before they become a problem.
Mm-hmm. And that's the close. That is the close. The bug is fixable. The pattern behind the bug, it ain't going away, right? The sovereign response is building the capability to find your own blind spots before the new Squidbleed style headline does it for you, right? So, Sensei, you want to talk about the disclosure before we go? Because what time is it?
Yeah, we can. All right, we want to talk about our disclosure.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about where we're going to. It's simple. It's generally well written.
Yeah.
It's accessible, even if you're
Right.
not deep into systems programming. This is not rocket science. That's the disclosure. You can find these things very easily. It's a quick search. There's nothing to it. And then once you find it, you can say, hey, how do I fix this? And then you'll get the response. Use AI to assist you in finding these vulnerabilities and fixing them before they become a problem. That's the disclosure. This stuff's out there. It's not hidden. Nothing we're talking about is hidden. Nothing we're talking about is a conspiracy. Nothing we're talking about is something that's not already out there and already well known.
Yep. And to our community, right? Our final bosses, our motivators, our warriors, right? Well, I'm gonna let the sensei talk to the warriors, right? Because he's a warrior, right? Go vets, right? So, final bosses, your assignment is the infrastructure question, right? I need you to do this week. Ask your IT team or managed service provider directly, do you run Squid Proxy anywhere in your environment, right? Check it out, right? Check those FTP supports, right? Make sure those things are disabled. Motivators. Your assignment is the mindset transfer, right? This week, I need you to identify one process in which you, in your own business or personal life, that you've been seriously reviewing, right? Because this one, right here, we're not going to lead you wrong on this. I need you to go do some research and apply it, right? Apply that same scrutiny, right? Sensei, you got the floor. Let's talk to the Warriors.
Look, your Warriors, your assignment is really simple. It connects directly to the discipline theme from earlier. Okay, it's simple. Your assignment is continuous monitoring audit. If you're responsible for any security posture, personal, business, organizational, identify one area currently operating as we checked it once and it was fine. We check it once in a while. If you use that basis instead of an ongoing review, convert it back to a recurring check this week. Continuous will beat periodic every single time. 4 groups, 4 actions, 7 days. The sovereign does not let a briefing like this end without the next move already planned.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sensei, for that. Thank you, Sensei. We appreciate you. Now, can you bring it home for us?
Well, sure. I mean, tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. We cover what Squid proxy is and why a piece of infrastructure nobody thinks about has become the center of a major security story. We covered the exact mechanics of the bug, a single quirk in how basic C function handles a null character, and how that quirk has turned into a real credential leak. We've covered why it took an AI model, not 3 decades of human review, to finally surface it in 30 minutes. We covered who was actually exposed and the free immediate fix available for almost anybody listening tonight. We've covered what it means for the broader future of cybersecurity, where AI is becoming a tool for defenders as much as a threat from actors. And we've covered the deeper lesson for every community pillar in this room, from technical literacy to personal blind spots to continuous vigilance. And we give every group a specific action due before next Tuesday. Look, the headline tonight is not really Squid proxy is a bug. So what? The headline is what the standard for what counts as thorough security review just permanently changed. That's the real headline. And most organizations have not caught up to that yet.
That's correct. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you, man. And listen, this is season 4 of the Rebirth, Arc 4, the construction, right? Look, we don't build on assumptions if we have not pressure tested, right? And this has been reviewed before just being stopped, right? Being a thought of a safe assumption, right? For any of us, as a matter of fact, right? Tonight, you got the full briefing on exactly why. Straight from the code, straight from the disclosure, straight from the people who found it, right? Smarts, motivators, final bosses, warriors. This is exactly why we show up every Tuesday, right? Not to chase headlines, to understand what the headlines actually mean before everyone else catches up. The final boss does not wait 29 years to find a gap in their own foundation. The final boss builds the habit of looking right now.
Sensei out.
Sensei out. Final boss out. This has been season 4 of the Rebirth, Arc for the Construction, episode number 265. It is in the books. We're here every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And as always, there's a heavy pain that comes with discipline, but there's an even heavier pain that comes with regret. And if I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us, man. Look, always, remember, I am here. We are here. Be balanced, be equal, be safe. Thanks for joining our show. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Let's continue to grow together on this journey. Have a good one.
Welcome to Tech Tuesday on the Final Boss podcast, where innovation meets attitude and the future gets decoded one byte at a time. I'm your host, Turbo the CEO, and your co-host, Mike Foth. And today we're diving deep into the tech trenches to uncover the tools, trends, and truths shaping tomorrow. Whether you're a code slinger, gadget geek, or just tech curious, this is your weekly power-up. So grab your controller, plug in, and let's level up.